The old station wagon rolled slowly through the winding mountain roads, its headlights cutting through the thick evening fog. Sarah Mitchell sat in the back seat, her small hands clutching her favorite pink blanket, the one her grandmother had made for her 6th birthday. Outside, the world was turning white as snowflakes began to fall, dancing in the beams of light from the car. "How much longer, Dad?" Sarah asked, pressing her nose against the cold window. Her father, Tom Mitchell, glanced at her through the rearview mirror and smiled. "About 2 more hours, sweetie. We'll reach the cabin before it gets too dark." Sarah's mother. Emma turned around from the front seat. "Are you excited to see the mountains, honey?" Sarah nodded, though she felt a bit nervous. This was their first winter trip to the remote mountain region. Her father had rented a small cabin for the Christmas holidays, hoping to give his family a peaceful vacation away from the busy city life. The snow was falling harder now, covering the trees and rocks in a blanket of white. The road became narrower, with tall pine trees standing like silent guards on both sides. Sarah watched as the landscape changed. Everything looked so different from their home in Seattle. "Look at all that snow," her younger brother Jake shouted from beside her, his face pressed against his window. Tom slowed the car down. The road was getting slippery. "Everyone stay calm. We're doing fine. Just need to be careful." Emma checked the map on her phone, but there was no signal. "Tom, I think we might have taken a wrong turn. This doesn't look like the main road. Don't worry. I remember the cabin owner said there's a shortcut through this area." "We should see a wooden sign soon," Tom replied. Though his voice carried a hint of uncertainty, Sarah pulled her blanket closer. It was getting colder even inside the car. She could see her breath forming small clouds in the air. The heater was working, but it wasn't enough against the mountain cold. Minutes passed and the snow kept falling. The wipers worked hard to clear the windshield, but the visibility was getting worse. Jake had fallen asleep, his head resting on Sarah's shoulder. Suddenly, Tom stopped the car. "I think we need to check the map. I haven't seen any signs for a while." Emma nodded, worry visible on her face. "Maybe we should turn back. Let's just wait a moment." "Let me see if I can figure out where we are," Tom said, pulling out a paper map from the glove box. Sarah looked out the window. The forest seemed endless in the fading light. The trees looked like dark shadows. She felt small and far from home, but she tried to be brave, like her father always told her to be, as her parents discussed which direction to take. Sarah noticed something moving in the distance at first. She thought it was just snow falling from the branches, but then she saw it again. A figure. Someone was out there in the cold. Mom, Dad. "I think I see someone," Sarah said quietly. Tom looked up from the map. "What? Where?" Sarah pointed toward the trees. "Over there. Someone is walking." Tom rolled down his window slightly and peered out. "I don't see anything, sweetie. It's probably just the shadows," but Sarah was sure. She had seen movement, and now she could hear something too. A faint sound like crying. "Dad, please, I hear something." "Someone needs help," Sarah insisted, her voice more urgent. Emma listened carefully. And then she heard it too, a cry weak but clear. "Tom, she's right. There's someone out there." Tom immediately opened the car door. "Stay in the car, both of you," he said firmly. Grabbing a flashlight from under his seat, Emma protested. "Tom, be careful. We don't know what's out there. I'll just check quickly." "Keep the doors locked," he said, stepping out into the snow. Sarah watched as her father's figure disappeared into the white darkness, the flashlight beam moving through the falling snow. Her heart beat faster. She held her blanket tight, praying that everything would be okay. Minutes felt like hours. Jake woke up confused. "Where's Dad?" "He's checking something. He'll be back soon," Emma said, trying to sound calm, but Sarah could see her mother's hands shaking. Then through the snow, they saw the flashlight coming back. Tom was walking quickly, and he wasn't alone. He was carrying something, someone small, wrapped in what looked like torn cloth. Tom reached the car and carefully opened the back door. "Emma, we need to help. It's a baby." Emma's hands flew to her mouth as Tom carefully placed the small bundle on the back seat next to Sarah. The baby couldn't have been more than a few months old, wrapped in what appeared to be animal hide that had been torn and soaked through with snow. The infant's lips had a bluish tint and tiny shivers ran through the fragile body. "Oh my God, Tom, where did you find this child?" Emma's voice cracked with emotion as she immediately began removing her own coat. Tom's face was pale, his breath coming in quick bursts from running through the deep snow. About 50 yards into the forest, lying next to a fallen log, I almost missed the cry. "Emma, there's no one else out there. I searched everywhere." called out. Nothing, just this baby alone. Sarah stared at the tiny face peeking out from the wet hide. The baby had stopped crying now, but made small whimpering sounds that broke Sarah's heart. The child's skin looked almost gray in the dim car light, and Sarah noticed the delicate features, the straight black hair plastered against the small head. We need to get this baby warm immediately, Emma said, her nurse training kicking in automatically. She reached for the blankets they had packed in the trunk area. Jake, hand me that blue blanket behind you. Quickly. But Sarah was already moving without saying a word. She unwrapped her pink blanket from around her own shoulders, the precious blanket her grandmother had spent weeks making. With its soft fleece and carefully stitched edges, Sarah had slept with it every single night since her birthday. It was her most treasured possession. Here, Sarah said softly, holding out the blanket toward the baby. This one is warmer. Grandma made it special. It keeps me warm even on the coldest nights. Emma looked at her daughter, surprise and pride mixing in her eyes. Sarah, sweetheart, are you sure? That's your favorite blanket, Sarah nodded, her young face serious and determined. The baby needs it more than me. Mom, look how cold the baby is. I have my jacket. I'll be okay. Tom watched his daughter with wonder as Emma gently took the pink blanket and began wrapping it around the infant, carefully removing the wet animal hide. As the soft, dry fabric touched the baby's skin, the tiny eyes opened briefly, dark and deep, before closing again. Good girl, Sarah, Tom said quietly, reaching back to squeeze his daughter's hand. You might have just saved this baby's life. Emma worked quickly, checking the infant's breathing and pulse. The baby's alive, but hypothermia is setting in. We need to get to help fast, Tom. We can't stay out here, I know, but which way? Tom said, frustration evident in his voice. We're lost, and with this snow I can barely see the road. Jake, who had been silent until now, suddenly spoke up. Dad, when you were gone I saw lights way down the road. That direction, he pointed ahead. Past where the headlights reached, Tom made a quick decision. Okay, we go forward, keep the baby warm, I'll drive as fast as I safely can. The station wagon began moving again. Slower this time, Tom hunched over the steering wheel, straining to see through the heavy snowfall. Emma held the baby close to her chest, using her own body heat to warm the child. Sarah watched anxiously, her hands clasped together. Mom, will the baby be okay? Sarah asked, her voice small. I hope so, darling. We're doing everything we can, Emma replied, though worry lined her face. She could feel the baby's temperature was dangerously low. Tom, we really need to find help soon. The car crept forward through what seemed like an endless white tunnel. The trees pressed close on both sides, and the snow showed no signs of stopping. Sarah noticed her mother gently rubbing the baby's hands and feet, trying to encourage circulation. After what felt like forever, Tom suddenly straightened up. There, I see something, lights. Just like Jake said, sure enough, in the distance, small orange glows appeared through the snow. As they got closer, they could make out shapes, buildings, structures made of wood, and what looked like animal hides stretched over frames. It's a settlement, Emma said, relief flooding her voice. Thank God. As they approached, figures began to emerge from the buildings. People wearing thick furs and heavy clothing, their faces weathered by mountain life. Tom carefully brought the car to a stop. An elderly man with long gray hair braided down his back walked toward them, his face etched with lines of age and wisdom. Behind him, a younger woman ran forward, her eyes wide with panic and hope. Tom rolled down his window. Please, we need help. We found a baby in the forest. The child needs medical attention immediately. But before he could say more, the young woman let out a cry that pierced through the sound of the wind. She had seen the bundle in Emma's arms, the baby wrapped in the pink blanket. Her hands reached toward the car, tears streaming down her face. My baby, she sobbed in accented English. You found my baby. The young woman's cry seemed to echo across the entire settlement. Within seconds, more people emerged from the wooden structures, their faces a mixture of shock and desperate hope. Emma instinctively pulled the baby closer. Protective but understanding the mother's anguish, Tom quickly stepped out of the car, raising his hands in a peaceful gesture. Please, the baby is safe. We found her in the forest. She's very cold. She needs help right away. The young mother rushed forward, but the elderly man gently caught her arm, speaking to her in a language the Mitchells didn't understand. His voice was calm but firm. The woman nodded through her tears, trying to control herself. I am Chief William Running Bear, the elderly man said, his English clear and measured. This is Morning Dove, the baby's mother, please. Bring the child inside quickly, our healer is waiting. Emma carefully opened the car door, cradling the baby still wrapped in Sarah's pink blanket. The moment Mourning Dove saw her child up close, her legs nearly gave out. Two other women rushed to support her. The young mother reached out with trembling fingers to touch her baby's face. How long has the child been exposed to the cold? Chief Running Bear asked, his experienced eyes already assessing the situation. We don't know exactly, Tom replied. I found her maybe 20 minutes ago. She was lying by a fallen log wrapped in wet animal hide. There was no one around. The chief's jaw tightened. Come quickly. Every moment matters. They were led into the largest structure, a communal building with a fire burning bright in the center. The warmth hit them immediately. Sarah and Jake followed their parents inside, their eyes wide at the unfamiliar surroundings. Animal hides covered the walls, and the smell of burning cedar filled the air. An old woman with silver hair and gentle eyes came forward. Her hands were weathered but moved with practiced precision. I am Grandmother Willow, the tribe's healer. Lay the baby here. By the fire. Emma carefully placed the infant on a soft pile of furs near the hearth. But as she began to unwrap the pink blanket, warning, Dove gently stopped her. Please leave the blanket, it is warm. It saved my daughter's life. Grandmother Willow nodded in agreement. Working around the blanket, she examined the baby with skilled hands, checking breathing, heartbeat, the color of the skin. She spoke in her native tongue to the chief, who translated, The baby will survive. You found her in time, another hour in that cold, and we would be preparing a different ceremony. Chief Running Bear's voice was heavy with emotion. Mourning Dove wishes to know who found her child. Tom gestured to his family. We all did, but my daughter Sarah was the one who insisted we stop. She heard the crying when no one else could, and she gave her own blanket to keep the baby warm. All eyes turned to Sarah, who suddenly felt very shy. She stepped slightly behind her mother. The young girl hadn't expected attention. She had simply done what felt right. Mourning Dove walked over to Sarah, kneeling down to be at eye level with the 6-year-old. Tears still streamed down her face, but now they were tears of gratitude. She took Sarah's small hands in her own. You saved my daughter, Mourning Dove said softly, her voice breaking. You gave your precious blanket to a stranger's child. How can I ever thank you? Sarah looked at the baby lying by the fire. Already the infant's color was improving. Tiny fingers were moving, grasping at the pink fabric. I just wanted her to be warm, Sarah said simply. She was so cold and she's just a baby. Babies need to be warm and safe. Mourning Dove pulled Sarah into a gentle embrace. Holding the child who had saved her child, Emma wiped tears from her own eyes. Even Tom had to clear his throat. Jake stood quietly. For once not fidgeting or making jokes, Chief Running Bear spoke again, his voice carrying authority. There is a story here that must be told. Please sit, accept our hospitality. You have given us the greatest gift. Let us at least offer you warmth and food. As they settled around the fire, other tribe members brought warm drinks and food. Mourning Dove returned to her baby, who was now making stronger sounds. The crisis was passing. What happened? Emma asked gently. How did your baby end up alone in the forest? Mourning Dove's face darkened with memory. I was traveling back from visiting my sister in the next valley. I had little Ida strapped to my back in the traditional carrier. The storm came suddenly, so much worse than expected. I was following the old trail when I slipped on ice near the fallen log. I fell hard, hit my head. She touched a dark bruise on her temple. When I woke up, it was already snowing heavily. I was confused, dizzy. I started walking what I thought was home. I didn't realize Aida had fallen from the carrier during my fall. By the time I reached the settlement and the fog cleared from my mind, I realized my baby was gone. Her voice broke again. The men were preparing to search, but the storm was too dangerous. They said we had to wait for first light. I thought I had lost her forever. I thought my carelessness had killed my own child. Chief Running Bear placed a comforting hand on Mourning Dove's shoulder. But the spirits sent help. They sent this family. They sent this brave young girl with her grandmother's blanket. The fire crackled and popped, sending small sparks dancing upward into the smoke hole above. Sarah sat cross-legged on a soft fur, watching baby Aida's chest rise and fall with increasingly steady breaths. The pink blanket had become a cocoon of safety around the tiny body, and color had finally returned to the infant's cheeks. Tom accepted a cup of hot tea from one of the tribal women, the warmth spreading through his cold fingers. We were lost ourselves, he admitted to Chief Running Bear. We took a wrong turn trying to reach our rental cabin. If we hadn't gotten lost, we never would have been on that road." The chief's weathered face creased into a thoughtful expression. "Perhaps you were not lost at all. Perhaps you were exactly where the Great Spirit needed you to be. Our people believe there are no accidents, only paths we don't yet understand." Emma nodded slowly. She had been thinking the same thing. What were the chances of them taking that specific wrong turn at that exact time, in that precise location where Aida lay dying in the snow? The mathematical improbability of it all seemed less like coincidence and more like destiny. Jake had found a corner where 3 young tribal boys sat. They were teaching him a string game with complex patterns despite the language barrier. Laughter transcended words. Sarah smiled. Watching her brother make new friends suddenly, the entrance flap of the communal building swept open. Cold wind rushed in, carrying with it fresh snow and a tall figure. The man who entered commanded immediate attention. He stood well over 6 feet. With broad shoulders wrapped in a magnificent coat made of wolf fur, his face was angular and proud, with deep-set eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. Everyone in the room stood up, a sign of respect that even the Mitchell family instinctively followed. Chief Running Bear stepped forward, speaking in the native language. The conversation was brief but clearly important. The tall man's eyes moved across the room, landing on Mourning Dove and baby Aida. His stern expression cracked for just a moment, revealing deep emotion beneath. He walked over to his daughter and granddaughter. Kneeling beside them, Mourning Dove spoke softly to him. Gesturing toward the Mitchell family, the man listened, his jaw working as he processed the information. Then he stood, his full height impressive in the firelight, and turned to face Tom and Emma. "I am Chief Thomas Strong Eagle." His voice was deep and resonant. "William Running Bear is my brother. I lead the wolf clan of our people. Mourning Dove is my only daughter. Aida is my first grandchild." He paused, and the weight of his next words was palpable. "I was leading a hunting party in the northern mountains when the storm trapped us. We only just made it back. I arrived to find my daughter in tears, believing her baby was lost forever, and now I find that strangers, white travelers, have saved my granddaughter's life." The way he said white travelers wasn't hostile, but it carried generations of complicated history. Tom felt the weight of it, understanding that this moment was about more than just one rescued baby. Chief Strong Eagle's eyes found Sarah, the little girl who had been trying to make herself small. "You are the child who gave the blanket." It wasn't a question. Sarah nodded, her voice barely a whisper. "Yes, sir." The chief studied her for a long moment. His face unreadable, Sarah felt her mother's hand on her shoulder. A silent comfort. The entire room had gone quiet. Even the fire seemed to burn more softly. Then something unexpected happened. Chief Strong Eagle's stern face softened, and he lowered himself onto one knee, bringing his imposing frame down to Sarah's level. "How old are you, little one?" "6, Sarah replied, finding her voice. "I just turned 6 in October." 6 years old, the chief repeated, as if the number held significance. "My granddaughter Aida is 6 months old. You gave away your treasured blanket to save a child you had never met, a child from a people you did not know. You did this without hesitation, without asking for anything in return." Sarah wasn't sure what to say, so she simply told the truth. She needed it more than me. And my grandma always says we should help people when they need help. She made that blanket with love. I thought maybe the love in the blanket could help keep the baby warm too. Chief Strong Eagle's eyes glistened. He reached out and gently placed his large hand on top of Sarah's small head, a gesture of blessing in his culture. "Your grandmother is a wise woman. She has taught you well. The blanket did carry love, and that love saved a life tonight." He stood and turned to address his brother and the gathered tribe members. Speaking in their language, his voice carried authority and emotion. People nodded, some wiped tears. Mourning Dove clutched Aida closer. Chief Running Bear translated for the Mitchell family. "My brother says that what happened tonight is sacred. A debt has been created, not a debt of burden, but a debt of honor in our tradition. When someone saves a life, especially the life of a child, it creates a bond that cannot be broken. It creates family." Tom and Emma exchanged glances, not fully understanding what this meant, but sensing its importance. Chief Strong Eagle switched back to English. "You came to these mountains as strangers. You will not leave as strangers. Tomorrow, when the storm passes, there will be a gathering. The entire tribe must witness what has happened here. They must know the story of the brave little girl with the pink blanket. The storm howled through the night, but inside the communal building, the Mitchell family slept in unexpected comfort. The tribe had prepared sleeping areas for them with thick furs and woven blankets. Sarah woke several times, each time checking to make sure baby Aita was still breathing, still safe. The pink blanket remained wrapped around the infant, who slept peacefully beside her mother. When morning came, Sarah opened her eyes to find the world transformed. Through the entrance of the building, she could see brilliant sunlight reflecting off fresh snow. The storm had passed, leaving everything covered in pristine white that sparkled like millions of tiny diamonds. Jake was already awake, playing outside with the tribal boys he had befriended the night before. Their laughter carried through the crisp morning air. Sarah could see them building something in the snow, working together despite their language differences. Emma sat near the fire with Morning Dove. The two mothers had formed a quick bond. Grandmother Willow was teaching Emma about traditional herbs and healing methods, their conversation flowing easily despite occasional language barriers. Tom stood outside with Chief Running Bear and several other men, discussing the roads and how to reach the Mitchells' rental cabin once the paths were cleared. Sarah noticed her father looked more relaxed than he had in months. The stress of his demanding job in Seattle seemed to have melted away. Chief Strong Eagle emerged from another building. He had changed from his traveling clothes into ceremonial dress. Intricate beadwork decorated his leather vest, and he wore a headdress with eagle feathers, each feather earned through acts of courage and leadership. His presence commanded respect without effort. "The council has spoken through the night," he announced, his voice carrying across the settlement. "Today we honor those who saved little Aita. The ceremony will begin at midday." Sarah felt a flutter of nervousness. She didn't like being the center of attention. She had only done what seemed right, what anyone should do. But as she looked around at the faces of the tribe members, she saw such genuine warmth and gratitude that her anxiety began to fade. Morning Dove approached Sarah, carrying Aita, who was now awake and looking much healthier. The baby's dark eyes were bright and curious. "Would you like to hold her?" Morning Dove asked gently. Sarah nodded, sitting down carefully as Morning Dove placed the baby in her arms. Aita was still wrapped in the pink blanket. The infant made small cooing sounds, tiny fingers reaching up to grasp at Sarah's hair. "She knows you," Morning Dove said softly. "Babies can sense who helped them, who protected them. She feels safe with you." Sarah looked down at Aita's perfect little face and felt something shift in her heart. This wasn't just any baby anymore. This was someone she had saved, someone whose life was connected to her own now. "Hi, Aita," Sarah whispered. "I'm glad you're okay." Chief Strong Eagle watched this exchange, his expression thoughtful. He spoke quietly to his brother, who nodded in agreement. Then both chiefs approached the Mitchell family. "We have discussed something important," Chief Strong Eagle began. "Among our people, when a life is saved, particularly a child's life, we have ancient traditions. These traditions have been honored for hundreds of generations. They are not taken lightly." Tom felt Emma's hand find his. They stood together, listening carefully. Sarah's act of selflessness, her gift of the blanket made by her grandmother's hands, has created what we call a spirit bond, Chief Running Bear explained. In the old ways, this would make Sarah and Aita like sisters, bound not by blood but by the sacred act of one saving the other. Chief Strong Eagle continued, "We would like to honor this bond properly with your permission. We wish to perform a naming ceremony in our tradition. Sarah would be given a tribal name, recognizing her bravery and pure heart. She would be welcomed as an honorary member of the Wolf clan." Emma's hand flew to her mouth. Tom looked stunned. This was far more than they had imagined. Sarah, still holding Aita, looked up at her parents with wide eyes. "This is a great honor," Chief Running Bear added. "Very rarely given to outsiders. The last time was over 40 years ago, when a forest ranger saved 3 children from a fire. We don't expect an answer immediately," Chief Strong Eagle said. "This is something your family must discuss. But know that if you accept, Sarah will always have a home here. The tribe will always consider her one of our own. When she is older, if she wishes to learn our ways, our language, our traditions, she will be welcomed." Tom cleared his throat, emotion making his voice rough. "This is incredible. We're honored, truly. But this is Sarah's decision too. She's young, but she's old enough to have a say in something this important." All eyes turned to Sarah, the 6-year-old girl who had somehow brought 2 worlds together with one simple act of kindness. She looked at baby Aita in her arms, then at Morning Dove's grateful face, then at the gathered tribe members who watched her with such warmth. What would happen in the ceremony? Sarah asked quietly, wanting to understand before deciding. Chief Strong Eagle knelt beside her again. You would be presented to the tribe. I would tell the story of your bravery. The elders would offer prayers and blessings, and then you would receive your name, chosen by the council based on your actions and spirit. You would also receive a gift, something to symbolize your place in the tribe. Would I have to leave my family? Sarah asked the most important question. Never, Chief Strong Eagle said firmly. You are your parents' daughter always. This would simply mean you also have another family, an extended family here in the mountains. You would belong to two worlds, carry two names. Walk two paths. Sarah thought about this. She looked at her mother and father, seeking their guidance without words. Emma smiled encouragingly. Tom nodded slightly, telling her the choice was truly hers. Sarah took a deep breath and looked into Chief Strong Eagle's patient eyes. I would like to accept, she said softly. If it means Ayita and I will always be connected, then yes. I want to be part of your family too. A collective release of breath seemed to ripple through the gathered tribe members. Morning Dove pressed her hand to her heart. Tears spilling down her cheeks once more, Chief Strong Eagle nodded solemnly, standing to his full height. Then it shall be done. We will prepare. The next few hours transformed the settlement into a hive of purposeful activity. Women brought out ceremonial clothing decorated with intricate beadwork and quillwork. Men arranged logs in a large circle in the center of the clearing, creating an outdoor ceremonial space. The snow had been cleared away, revealing the frozen earth beneath. Grandmother Willow took Sarah into a private dwelling. We must prepare you properly, she said with a warm smile. She helped Sarah wash her face and hands in water infused with sage and cedar. The herbs filled the air with a clean, sharp scent. This cleanses not just the body, but the spirit, the old woman explained. It prepares you to receive blessings. Sarah was given a beautiful dress made of soft deerskin, decorated with hundreds of small beads in patterns of wolves and stars. This belonged to my granddaughter, Grandmother Willow said. She wore it at her own naming ceremony many years ago. She would be honored to know it serves such a purpose again. Are you sure? Sarah asked, running her fingers over the intricate beadwork. It's so beautiful. What if I damage it? Grandmother Willow laughed, a sound like wind chimes. Beautiful things are meant to be used, not hidden away. Besides, you have already proven yourself worthy of beautiful things by giving away something beautiful when it was needed most. When Sarah emerged from the dwelling, she found her family dressed in clean clothes they had retrieved from their car. Tribal members had helped Tom shovel out their station wagon and bring it into the settlement. Jake looked both excited and nervous, fidgeting with the collar of his shirt. You look like a princess, Jake said, for once without any teasing in his voice. Emma knelt down to adjust Sarah's dress, her eyes shining with pride. You look perfect, sweetheart. Are you nervous? A little, Sarah admitted, but also excited. Is that okay? Tom put his hand on her shoulder. That's more than okay. What you're about to experience is something very few people ever get to be part of. Remember everything. This is a story you'll tell for the rest of your life. As the sun reached its highest point, a drum began to beat, slow and steady like a heartbeat. The sound echoed across the settlement and into the surrounding forest. Tribe members began gathering in the ceremonial circle, dressed in their finest clothing. Some wore traditional regalia passed down through generations. Others wore a mixture of modern and traditional dress. Chief Strong Eagle stood at the center of the circle, his headdress catching the sunlight. Beside him stood Chief Running Bear and 3 other elders, their faces marked with the wisdom of many winters. Morning Dove sat nearby holding Ayita, who was awake and alert, still wrapped in the pink blanket. The Mitchell family was guided to a place of honor within the circle. Sarah stood between her parents, her heart beating almost as loud as the drum. She could feel the weight of many eyes upon her, but they were kind eyes, welcoming eyes. Chief Strong Eagle raised his hand and the drum fell silent. He began to speak in his native language, his voice powerful and clear. Though Sarah couldn't understand the words, she felt their importance. They seemed to resonate in her chest, in her bones. After several minutes, he switched to English so the Mitchell family could understand. We gather today to witness something sacred, he announced. We gather to honor a debt that cannot be repaid, only acknowledged. 3 nights ago, in the worst storm our mountains have seen this winter, my granddaughter Aita lay dying in the snow, alone, cold, abandoned not by choice but by cruel chance. He paused, letting the gravity of those words settle. She would have died, there's no question of this. Grandmother Willow has said that another hour, perhaps even less, would have been too late. But the Great Spirit had other plans. The Great Spirit guided a family of strangers to that exact place. At that exact moment, Chief Strong Eagle gestured toward Sarah, and the Great Spirit gave one small girl the courage to listen when others might not have heard, the compassion to give away her most precious possession, the wisdom to understand that some things matter more than comfort. This girl, barely 6 years old, saved my granddaughter's life. Mourning Dove stood carrying Aida forward. She walked to the center of the circle and held the baby up for all to see. "Look at her," Mourning Dove's voice rang out. "Alive, healthy, alert. This is a miracle we are witnessing. This is the result of one pure heart meeting one desperate need." The tribe members responded in their language, a chant that sounded like agreement and celebration combined. Sarah felt goosebumps rise on her arms despite the warmth of the ceremonial dress. Chief Strong Eagle approached Sarah. In his hands he carried a beautiful blanket, unlike anything Sarah had ever seen. It was made of woven fabric decorated with wolf designs, and along its border were symbols Sarah didn't recognize. "This blanket was made by the women of our tribe," he said. It took them all night working together, each woman adding her own prayers and blessings into every thread. He placed the blanket around Sarah's shoulders. It was warm and surprisingly heavy. "You gave away your grandmother's blanket to save a life," Chief Strong Eagle continued. "Now we give you a blanket made by many grandmothers, representing many lifetimes of wisdom and love. This is yours to keep forever, a symbol of this day and this bond." Sarah's small hands clutched the edges of the ceremonial blanket, feeling the weight of not just the fabric, but of the love and intention woven into every fiber. The tribe members watched her with expressions of approval and warmth. Some of the older women dabbed at their eyes with handkerchiefs. Chief Running Bear stepped forward, carrying a wooden box carved with intricate designs of wolves running through forests. "In our tradition," he said, opening the box carefully, "a naming ceremony requires the presence of sacred items. These have been used in our tribe for over 200 years, passed down from one generation to the next." Inside the box lay several objects. A eagle feather, pristine white with brown tips, a small pouch made of leather, and a silver medallion hanging from a leather cord. Chief Running Bear lifted the feather first, holding it up to catch the sunlight. "The eagle sees what others cannot see," he explained. "It flies high above the earth and notices even the smallest movement below." Sarah heard baby Aida's cry when no one else could. She saw the movement in the forest when others saw only shadows. She possesses the vision of the eagle. He touched the feather gently to Sarah's forehead, then to each of her shoulders. The gesture felt sacred, ancient. Sarah stood very still, sensing the importance of each movement. Next, he lifted the leather pouch. "This contains earth from the 4 sacred directions of our land," Chief Running Bear said. "North, south, east, and west, it represents being grounded, being connected to the land and to all living things." Sarah showed us that we are all connected, that the suffering of one should matter to all, regardless of who they are or where they come from. He placed the small pouch in Sarah's palm, closing her fingers around it gently. "Keep this with you," he said. "Let it remind you that you carry a piece of this land in your heart now, just as we carry a piece of you in ours, finally." Chief Strong Eagle took the silver medallion. It was about the size of a silver dollar, with a wolf's head etched into the metal. Around the edge were symbols in the tribe's written language. "This medallion has only been given 7 times in the history of our clan," he said, his voice heavy with significance. "It marks you as a sister of the Wolf Clan, an honorary member with all the rights and protections that come with that title." He placed the leather cord over Sarah's head, the medallion resting against her chest. "As long as you wear this, any member of the Wolf Clan anywhere in the world will recognize you and offer you assistance, shelter, protection. You are no longer a stranger to our people. You are family." Sarah looked down at the medallion, running her finger over the raised wolf head. The weight of it felt significant, a tangible connection to this moment and these people. "And now," Chief Strong Eagle said, his voice rising with ceremonial authority, "we come to the most important part, the giving of your name. Our elders have discussed through the night, seeking guidance from our ancestors and from the Great Spirit. We have chosen a name that reflects your spirit and your actions." The drums began again, softer this time, a background rhythm that seemed to pulse with life itself. The 3 elders began to chant in harmony, their voices creating a haunting melody that raised the hairs on Sarah's arms. Chief Strong Eagle placed both hands on Sarah's shoulders, looking directly into her eyes. "From this day forward, when you walk among the wolf clan, you shall be known as Gentle Flame," he announced. "You are called this because, like a flame, you bring warmth to those who are cold. You bring light to those in darkness, but your flame is gentle. It does not burn or destroy. It comforts and protects." He raised his voice so all could hear. "Sarah Mitchell, daughter of Tom and Emma, you are now also Gentle Flame, sister of the Wolf Clan, honorary daughter of Chief Strong Eagle, spirit sister to Ayita. May you walk in both worlds with honor and grace." The tribe members erupted in a cheer. Some ululated in the traditional way, creating a sound like calling birds. Others clapped and stamped their feet. The celebration was genuine and joyous. Sarah felt tears running down her cheeks, but they were happy tears. Mourning Dove approached, still carrying Ayita. "There is one more thing," she said softly. "Something I wish to do, not as part of the official ceremony, but as a mother's personal gift." She unwrapped the pink blanket from around Ayita. The baby squirmed slightly at the loss of warmth, but Mourning Dove quickly covered her with another blanket. Then she held out the pink blanket towards Sarah. "This saved my daughter's life," Mourning Dove said. "It should return to you. But I have added something to it with your permission. I would like you to keep it." Sarah took the blanket and immediately noticed the difference. Along one edge, Mourning Dove had sewn a border of traditional beadwork. Small glass beads in shades of blue, white, and silver created a pattern of stars and wolves, connecting Sarah's grandmother's creation with the tribe's artistic tradition. "Now this blanket belongs to both worlds," Mourning Dove explained. "Your grandmother's love and my people's gratitude sewn together, just as you and Ayita are now sewn together by fate and choice." Sarah hugged the blanket to her chest. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "Thank you, I'll keep it forever. I promise." Emma wiped tears from her face. Tom had his arm around her, both parents overwhelmed by the magnitude of what their daughter had experienced. Jake stood nearby, unusually quiet, seeming to understand that he was witnessing something far beyond ordinary life. Grandmother Willow brought forward a tray carrying small wooden cups. "We drink together," she announced. "A special tea made from herbs that promote bonds of friendship and family. When we drink, we become truly connected." Each person in the circle received a wooden cup filled with the steaming herbal tea. The aroma was earthy and sweet, with hints of mint and something Sarah couldn't identify but found comforting. Chief Strong Eagle raised his cup high, speaking words in his native language before translating. "We drink to honor those who came before us, those who walk beside us, and those who will come after us. We drink to celebrate the bonds that connect all people when we choose compassion over indifference. We drink to Gentle Flame, who reminded us that heroes come in the smallest packages with the biggest hearts." The tribe members echoed his words in their language. Then everyone drank together. Sarah sipped the warm tea carefully. It tasted slightly bitter at first, then sweet, then somehow both at once. She felt warmth spread through her body, different from the warmth of the fire or the blanket. This was an internal warmth, a feeling of belonging. As the ceremonial part concluded, the atmosphere shifted from formal to festive. Tables appeared as if by magic, carried out by various tribe members. Soon they were laden with food, traditional dishes alongside more familiar fare. There was venison stew, fry bread, roasted vegetables, smoked fish, and sweet berry desserts. "This is a feast," Chief Running Bear explained to the Mitchell family. "We celebrate not just what happened, but what it represents. We celebrate hope. We celebrate the goodness that still exists in the world. We celebrate family, both the family we are born into and the family we choose." Tom found himself deep in conversation with several of the tribal men. They spoke about hunting, about living close to nature, about raising children in the modern world while honoring ancient traditions. He realized how much wisdom these men possessed, knowledge that most people in his city would never encounter. Emma sat with the women, learning about herbal remedies, traditional crafts, and the challenges of preserving culture in changing times. Mourning Dove taught her how to wrap a baby in the traditional cradleboard style. Using Ayita as a willing demonstration model, Jake had completely integrated with the tribal children. They had taught him a game involving throwing snowballs at moving targets. He was terrible at it, but his laughter echoed across the settlement as he tried again and again, making his new friends laugh with his dramatic misses. Sarah sat with Grandmother Willow and several other elders. They told her stories about the Wolf Clan's history, about brave women and men who had protected their people through difficult times, about the importance of remembering where you come from while embracing where you're going. Your name, Gentle Flame, carries responsibility, Grandmother Willow said softly. It means you must always remember to bring warmth and light wherever you go, not just today, but every day, not just for people you know, but for strangers who need help. Sarah nodded seriously. I'll try my best, she promised. That is all anyone can do. The old woman smiled. Trying is enough. Caring is enough. You are only 6 years old. But you have taught our entire tribe something important today. You reminded us that the most powerful force in the world is not strength or wealth or power. It is simple kindness given freely. As the sun began to set, painting the snow-covered mountains in shades of pink and gold, Chief Strong Eagle approached the Mitchell family once more. Your cabin has been located, he said. It is not far from here. About an hour's drive once you reach the main road. Our scouts checked it this afternoon. It is warm and well-stocked. Ready for your vacation, Tom nodded. Thank you for everything. Not just for finding the cabin, but for this entire experience. We came to these mountains hoping for a peaceful holiday. We found something much more valuable before you go, Chief Strong Eagle said. There is one final gift. He handed Tom a folded piece of paper. This is a map. It shows not just how to reach your cabin, but how to return here. You are welcome anytime, not as tourists, not as outsiders, but as family. Our home is your home now. He turned to Sarah, kneeling down one last time. Gentle Flame, you will grow up. You will face many challenges. You will have moments when you doubt yourself or forget your strength. When those times come, remember this day. Remember that you saved a life when you were only 6 years old. Remember that you carry the spirit of the wolf within you now. Wolves are loyal. Wolves protect their pack. Wolves never give up. Sarah threw her arms around the chief's neck, hugging him tightly. Thank you, she whispered. For my name, for the blanket, for making me part of your family. Chief Strong Eagle hugged her back gently. No, Gentle Flame, thank you for saving my granddaughter. For reminding us all what truly matters, you gave away a blanket, but you gave us back hope. The farewell took nearly another hour. Every tribe member wanted to say goodbye personally, to touch the ceremonial blanket Sarah wore, to offer blessings for safe travels. Morning Dove held Ayita up so Sarah could kiss the baby's forehead one more time. We will see each other again, Morning Dove promised. Ayita will grow up knowing your name, knowing what you did for her. You will always be her guardian angel, her spirit sister. As the Mitchell family's station wagon pulled away from the settlement, they looked back to see the entire tribe standing together. Waving, Chief Strong Eagle stood at the front. His hand raised in farewell beside him. Morning Dove held Ayita. The baby's tiny hand also lifted in an innocent wave. Sarah pressed her hand against the car window, the silver medallion around her neck, catching the last rays of sunlight. Wrapped around her shoulders was the tribal blanket, and clutched in her lap was her pink blanket, now adorned with beadwork that connected two worlds. Did that really just happen? Jake asked, his voice full of wonder. Emma turned to look at her children. Yes, sweetheart, it really did. And it happened because your sister listened to her heart. Because she chose kindness over comfort. Because she understood something that many adults forget, that we're all connected, and that helping others is never a waste. Tom navigated the mountain roads carefully, following the map Chief Strong Eagle had provided. You know what the amazing thing is? He said thoughtfully. We were lost. Completely turned around, frustrated and scared. And that wrong turn, that mistake, led us to exactly where we needed to be. Sarah looked down at baby Aida's image in her mind. The tiny face that had been blue with cold, but was now healthy and pink. She thought about the pink blanket, about her grandmother who had made it with love, about how that love had traveled from her grandmother's hands, through her own hands and into the life of a baby who desperately needed it. Mom, Sarah said quietly, when we get home, can we call Grandma and tell her what happened to her blanket? Emma smiled. Absolutely, I think Grandma will be very proud of you. She always said that things made with love have special power. I think she was right. As they drove through the mountains toward their cabin, the stars began to emerge in the darkening sky. Sarah Mitchell, now also known as Gentle Flame, sister of the Wolf Clan, looked up at those stars and made a silent promise. She would remember this day. She would honor her new name. She would continue to bring warmth and light wherever she went. Behind them in the settlement, Chief Strong Eagle stood alone in the ceremonial circle. Looking up at those same stars, he thought about his granddaughter Aita. Sleeping safely in her mother's arms, he thought about the small girl with the enormous heart who had saved her, and he smiled. The Great Spirit worked in mysterious ways, bringing people together across cultures, across differences, across the boundaries that humans created but that love could dissolve. Tonight, those boundaries had disappeared, replaced by something stronger: family, chosen family, bound not by blood but by an act of pure, selfless compassion. And somewhere in the universe, the stars shined a little brighter, as if celebrating the simple truth that one small act of kindness could change everything. That one 6-year-old girl with a pink blanket could remind an entire tribe, an entire family, an entire world, that we are all connected and that love, freely given, is the most powerful force in existence. The story of Gentle Flame and baby Aita would be told for generations, a reminder that heroes don't always wear capes or command armies. Sometimes they're just little girls with big hearts who know that when someone is cold, you give them your blanket, no questions asked, no hesitation, just love, and that in the end is how the world changes. One act of kindness at a time, one gentle flame lighting the way through the darkness.